How to handle outside influence on your relationship, social media, and negative opinions. Social media is everywhere. Whether we're scrolling through Instagram, X, Twitter, Facebook, it seems like there's always someone with an opinion. Politics, relationships, and even on how we should live our lives. And sometimes those outside influences, whether they come from friends, family, or even strangers on social media, can start creeping into your relationship. Maybe you've noticed your spouse starting to bring up ideas or concerns that seem influenced by other people or things they've seen online. Maybe you're feeling frustrated by negative opinions from people close to them, or even groups that seem to be shaping their mindset. If you've ever found yourself in this situation, today's video is for you. I'm going to give you 3 steps to help handle outside influences on your relationship, whether it's social media, family, or friends, without turning it into a battle. Step 1, open the lines of communication. The first step is to open the lines of communication. When you feel like your spouse is being influenced by negative or outside opinions, it's natural to feel defensive or even upset. But jumping into conflict mode won't solve anything. Instead, approach the situation with curiosity. Have you ever asked your spouse directly about what they're thinking or feeling instead of assuming? Have you ever asked your spouse directly about what they're thinking or feeling instead of assuming? Sometimes what we think is outside influence may just be their way of processing new ideas. So start by asking questions like, I've noticed you've been thinking differently about this. What's going on in your head? Or what has led to this new perspective? This opens the conversation and shows your spouse that you're interested in their thoughts without jumping to conclusion. Communication is the first step to understanding what's influencing them, and it can help you address concerns together instead of feeling like it's you versus them. But once you've started the conversation, what happens when you realize there are negative influences at play? That's where step number 2 comes in. Step number 2. Set boundaries around outside influence. The second step is to set boundaries around outside influences. If you've identified that certain people, groups, or social media content are having a negative impact on your spouse or your relationship, it's important to have a conversation about boundaries. This doesn't mean you tell your spouse who they can or can't talk to, but it does mean finding ways to limit the impact of those influences. So ask yourself, what's the best way to protect your relationship from outside negativity without being controlling? Maybe it's as simple as agreeing to limit time spent on social media or agreeing not to engage in certain discussions when they become too heated. Or maybe it's deciding together to distance yourselves from certain people or conversations that consistently bring negativity. For instance, I've seen couples agree to take social media breaks together, or even set rules about what types of political or personal discussions they'll have. It's about creating a healthy space where outside voices don't dominate your relationship. And speaking of those outside voices, that leads us to step number 3, how to handle people who are actively giving negative opinions. Step 3, stand united and handle criticism as a team. The third step is to stand united and handle criticism as a team. One of the hardest things to deal with in any relationship is outside opinions, especially when they're negative or when they contradict your own values or beliefs. Whether it's friends, family, or even people on social media, the constant commentary can create stress in your relationship if you're not on the same page. Have you ever had someone criticize your relationship or offer unsolicited advice? It can feel intrusive and hurtful, but the key is to respond as a team rather than letting it divide you. So how do you do this? When a negative opinion comes up, instead of reacting individually, approach it together. You might say something like, we appreciate your input, but we've decided to handle this our own way. The goal is to show that you and your spouse are alone, even if you don't agree with the criticism. This unity helps shield your relationship from the influence of negative outsiders. So, how do you do this? When a negative opinion comes up, instead of reacting individually, approach it together. You might say something like, "We appreciate your input, but we've decided to handle this in our own way." The goal is to show that you and your spouse are aligned, even if you don't agree with the criticism. This unity helps shield your relationship from the influence of negative outsiders. So there you have it. 3 steps to help protect your relationship from outside influences. First, open the lines of communication. Second, set boundaries around negative opinions or social media. And finally, stand united and handle criticism as a team. These steps won't just help you deal with outside voices, they'll actually make your relationship stronger. In the next video, I'll be talking about how to rebuild trust and connection in your relationship after facing challenges like these. You won't want to miss it. If this video helped, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. How are you handling outside opinions of your relationship? I'm really excited to hear. Take care.